Hey, Shalom Akim. Wow. This is for all of you that, I don't know, continue to believe that there's some kind of future here in America for our people. And yet, and still, after all this time, we still have instances of miscarriages of justice, overwhelming miscarriages of justice, like this one. Alright? This is from August. Alright? What they did to this man. It says, overwhelmed. Ronnie Long to go free after 44 years. North Carolina to vacate rape conviction. Oh, how nice of you. 44 years. There it is, in black and white. Ronnie Long, a North Carolina man who has spent 44 years in prison for a rape he says he didn't commit. And I'll apologize if you're already aware of this. Alright? Hey, but it needs to be brought out again. That's the spirit. It says, Ronnie Long, a North Carolina man who has spent 44 years in prison for a rape he says he didn't commit, will finally be freed. Alright? The state said it will ask the district court to enter a writ vacating Ronnie's conviction. In short, Ronnie Long is coming home. Why did it take 44 years? Alright, DNA, when was it, 89 when they started? Somewhere in there? Why did it take, alright, that's 13 years. From 76 to 89. Why did it take an additional 31 years? Long has steadfastly maintained his innocence over the years. Decades of appeals were supported by a growing body of proof that police, state officials, and the prosecutor withheld key evidence from Long's lawyers at his trial. There's no way you can convince me that ordinary, reasonable people, and I use that loosely, would have allowed this 44 years. Now I give you credit because of lack of DNA evidence. And we know the history of these Edomite women always accusing Jacob. A lot of people have lost their lives over these lies. And these people know this, and yet, even after the onset of DNA evidence, they still let this man stay in prison. But they put up a front going through the process. Alright. For an additional 30 years. While it will take some time for the courts to do what is needed to vacate the conviction, the state has set in motion a process that will lead to Ronnie's freedom. We're thrilled by the decision of the North Carolina Attorney General's office, Lau later told the Charlotte Observer. Alright, we're glad the Attorney General's office agrees with us that Ronnie Long should be freed as quickly as possible. The man's 64 years old now. Lau wanted Long released immediately, in part due to an outbreak of COVID-19 at Albemarle Correction Institution that already has sickened more than 150 inmates and killed 3. In the mid-70s, Long was a 20-year-old black man, so-called, living in Concord when he was accused of raping a white woman. There he is right there. He was convicted in 1976 by, guess who? An all-white jury that included members who had connections to the victim. The 54-year-old widow of a former textile executive at Cannon Mills, the town's biggest employer. Long was sentenced to 80 years in prison. He did over half of that. Wow. Laura Brewer, spokeswoman. See, that's why I can't bring myself. I'm long past that where anything that happens to an Edomite, yes, joy, ecstasy, all of that. Fuck them. Continuing on, Laura Brewer, spokeswoman for North Carolina Attorney General Josh Stein, responded to a request for comment from the Observer on Wednesday with a copy of the motion. The interest of justice called for immediately remanding the case to the district court. And they're going to try to do some shit to where they're not going to try not to be held accountable. All right? Because automatic lawsuit, repugnant in any context. It says Long's pending release comes as the county and Long's home state find themselves engaged in a renewed debate over how black men and women are treated by police and the courts. Long benefited from this engagement as groups of ministers and North Carolina legislators called on Governor Roy Cooper to intercede in the case. All right. That's why we have clemency, says legislator, on calls for governor to free Ronnie Long. And of course, it goes without saying, see, these Edomites, they're going to try to make themselves look good, as they do in all these movies they put out. And Jake, in the end, after toiling for long periods of time, eventually is vindicated. Well, they got to try to make the white man still look good. All right. It says on Monday, the federal Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals ordered a new hearing that could have led to Long's acquittal or a new trial. The court sent the case back to a federal court in North Carolina. 9 judges voted in favor of the decision Monday. 6 opposed it. Wow. Writing for the court's majority, Judge Stephanie Thacker criticized North Carolina for continuing to defend Long's conviction despite proof that investigators withheld evidence. You see that? Let me read it again. Writing for the court's majority, Judge Stephanie Thacker criticized North Carolina for continuing to defend Long's conviction despite proof that investigators withheld evidence. See how much they hate us? In a concurring opinion, Judge James Wynn, who grew up in eastern North Carolina, said the misconduct was all the more shocking because, at the time, Long's rape conviction carried a possible death sentence. Such an action is repugnant in any context, Wynn wrote, but it takes on a particularly sinister meaning here, given our country's historical treatment of black men accused of raping white women. That evidence has now trickled out, revealing the truth that Mr. Long has declared for decades. He should not have been found guilty. Long's attorneys have said that more than 40 fingerprints collected from the rape scene were never shared and did not match Long's. Semen samples also were never disclosed to the defense. They later disappeared. Wow. In his order, Wynn said it was possible that more withheld evidence would come forward in the case. But enough already had, he said. Besides, Long had waited too long. 44 years, the judge wrote, is an unconscionably long period to wait for justice. It is time. On Wednesday, the waiting stopped. 44 years. And here's the order. In the United States Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit, Ronnie Wallace Long, petitioner, appellant, Eric A. Hooks, Secretary of the North Carolina Department of Public Safety, responded. Consent motion to issue mandate forthwith. Alright, so there it is. There's his picture again. 64 years old now. He was 20 when he went in. Hey. John Trotman says those involved with withholding evidence should be prosecuted and sued. If they have died, then their families should be held liable. Damn, enough of this corruption and injustice already. James chapter 2 verse 13. For he shall have judgment without mercy. These damn Edomites, these so-called white people. For he shall have judgment without mercy, that hath shewed no mercy, and mercy rejoiceth against judgment. This is Isaiah, and you wonder why people are marching, even though Great Millstone, we don't encourage that, because it's so easy to manipulate our people. You know, one person throws a bottle at a vehicle or a store, and then it's on, because our people don't have that discipline. All right. But aside from that, you're protesting and you're asking the people that are wronging you, that's incapable of any type of justice, because he's an unjust man. You're asking him to give you justice, when you should be calling on Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Alright. Again, this is Isaiah chapter 42 verse 22. But this is a people robbed and spoiled, talking about Israel. They are all of them snared in holes. Those holes are what? And they are hid in prison houses. They are for a prey, which we are, and none delivereth. For a spoil, and none saith restore. Of course, true restoration, true reparations, it's coming. It's not any type of money from your oppressor. Alright? It's having his leprous red ass in slavery under you. Alright? That's true reparations. We being restored to our glory. Of course, the Lord, Yahweh Shai, coming back to reclaim, to reclaim. Alright? He's going to have all the crowns on his head. Alright? And we being heirs, guess what? We're going to rule with him. Alright, this is, let's go to, and I got to wrap this up. Let's go to Psalms 102, let's see. Let's see here. Let's see. For he, talking about the Most High, hath looked down from the height of his sanctuary. From heaven did the Most High Yahweh behold the earth, to hear the groaning of the prisoner, to loose those that are appointed to death. Alright. Let's go to Deuteronomy, because you forget being under the curses.